Isn't it just so cool how Rogle BK has become pretty much the Red Wings development team? I mean, you could say that about Frölunda, you could say that about a few organizations over the past few years, but I really do think that Rogle, with the talent pool that they've had as of late, really takes the cake for, let's just say, secondary Red Wings fan base team. Is that the proper way to say it? No, I don't think so. But when it comes to Red Wings fans that pay attention to the prospects and the development, the Rogle BK is a team that many pay attention to. For Moritz Seider, in the past few seasons worth of play, he has become an absolute stud, and Rogle was a big part of his development path. And when you take a look at who the team has on their team right now, you'll find some more Red Wings players that showed off very well as Rogle lost 6-5 against Oskarshamn yesterday. Now, the two guys we're going to be paying attention to today are Marco Kasper, first-round pick by the Red Wings in 2022. He was taken 8th overall, and William Wallinder, taken 2 years earlier in the 32nd overall spot. Both of these guys are in Rogle. They both played yesterday, and they've both been producing pretty well. Especially in yesterday's game, we saw ourselves some really good showcases from both of these players. Let's start out with Marco Kasper, because he's the guy with, I think, a little bit more star power behind his name, since he was an 8th overall pick in the most recent draft. Kasper is 18 years old, 6'1", 192, and yesterday he scored himself probably one of the best assists that he has had all season with this team. He's the guy that goes around the net, tries a freaking Michigan play. He tries to do it. It doesn't work, unfortunately. By the way, there have been a few Rogle BK guys who have pulled off the Michigan the past few years. Nils Höglander is the one that comes to my mind off the bat. But Kasper is indeed trying to do it. It doesn't work, so he takes the puck, goes along the perimeter, stops up near the point, and then throws it out into the middle where his teammate is able to score on the goalie long range. It's a pretty nice play, but it's pretty much encapsulated by Kasper's ability to traverse around the ice and try the Michigan to no avail. He still gets an assist on the play, so it's very nice to see, and with this point, he's at 9 total on 13 games in the year. Now, that number is honestly not the best, but then again, I think a lot of Red Wings fans are kind of used to seeing Red Wings prospects in the SHL not getting too many points because, you know, there's always opportunity given out to the more veteran and experienced guys on SHL clubs. You never really see any of these younger guys becoming top-tier point producers unless their names are Elias Pettersson. But for Marco Kasper, he's got 9 points in 13 games. That is 2 fewer points than he had last season in 46 total games played. So he's already gone out there and bested his point per game number very much so, and it's going to take him only just a few more games to reach his career single season point high in the SHL, so we're all kind of looking forward to that. But for Kasper, obviously, the extended point production comes from a little bit more of a better role than he had last season. Obviously, you know, last year he was only 17, so it's not really like he was being given the most opportunity. You could say the same thing about him being 18, but he certainly has more opportunity now than he has had before. Marco Kasper is a guy that plays the game the right way, and if coaches go out there and notice that this is the package of a player you get, just super smart on the board, super smart in his own zone, super smart as a center that can control the middle of the ice, and he can produce offense as well. There is just such a mixed bag of potential here with Kasper, and even though we know that the production wasn't necessarily the best last year, 11 points in 46 games played isn't great, Steve Yzerman still went out there and said, yeah, no, we feel that there is a little bit more of an extended potential ceiling that is here with Kasper, and I guess now we're taking a look at the first part of that. It's only been a few months since Kasper was drafted, but already Red Wings fans all over are cheering their heads off for Rogle BK hockey because of what this guy provides. And because of what the other guy we're talking about provides too. William Wallinder is a guy who is 20 years old, a left-handed D, 6'4", 190. So you talk about Seider and Edvinsson being big boys on the blue line. Wallinder's right there too. And before anybody goes out there in the comments, I will say that I'm under the impression that the W in Swedish is kind of pronounced as a double V, so I'm saying it like Wallinder. If anybody who is Swedish wants to go out there and let me know in the comments if I'm saying it right or wrong, then please go ahead and do that. But at the moment, I'm going William Wallinder. So that's just kind of how it's going to go for now. Either way, Wallinder's a guy that went out there and had himself a pretty good season last year in his, his draft +2 year, where he had 19 points in 47 games played. Now, that's not the best point production in the world, but Wallinder was still going out there and adjusting to the pro game as it was his first full pro season. He's a guy that has a really lanky stride, really good offensive raw potential. He's going to have to work that out as he progresses to higher levels of play. Or at least that's what you would have said about him last season. This season, however, so far in the 13-game sample he has had for Regle in the SHL, he's got 10 points. He also scored a goal yesterday in the game, which was very nice to see. And in fact, if you combine his SHL production with his Champions Hockey League production, which is the CHL where European teams play off against other European teams from other leagues, in the 6-game sample that Wallinder had over there, he had 8 points. So just taking a look at it, on the money right here, combined for Regle in its entirety, William Wallinder has 19 games played and he's got 18 points in the process. Not bad for a 20-year-old defenseman. In fact, if you go over to Moritz Seider, Seider was drafted in 2019. He had played a season in the AHL and then went over to Regle. He dominated and then he won the Calder in the NHL the next season. Wallinder is in the same stage as Seider was when Seider had his Regle year. Draft +2 year, being a very good, productive defenseman. It's just for Seider, I mean, he was probably one of the best defensemen, period, in the SHL when he played, because he is so good defensively, he is a rock, he is a big brick wall, and it's tough to get around him, while Wallinder isn't necessarily that. I know he's big, but he also is a tad lanky for the size that he has, if I'm going to be honest, just when you watch him play. But Wallinder's a lot more of a finesse, offensive-minded defenseman, I would say, comparative to Seider, which kind of comes across in the point production as well. But still, either way, a guy who's 20 years old, producing at the amount of production that he has had so far, he's on pace for 40 points in 52 games played over the span of the SHL year, according to Elite Prospects, and methinks that's pretty good for a prospect who is probably going to make his way over somewhere in the AHL next year. So, talk to the console your thoughts about the Rogle BK and what we've seen so far out of Marco Kasper and William Wallinder. They're not the only SHL Red Wings prospects that exist out there. There are some others playing in Frölunda and other teams here and there, but right now, just taking a look at Regle, it's awesome to see what they have done with these two guys. Not to mention the fact that Seider was there too, and I guess Höglander as well. So I've been in a pretty good spot as a Canucks and a Red Wings fan watching Regle over the past few seasons. But either way, if you are a Red Wings fan, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about these two guys. Where do you see them going in the next few years? Where do you see them going next year, period? They finish up their regular season. Let's say Kasper has, I don't know, he's on pace for, what's his point production right now? Let's go back over to the thing. 36 points in 52 games played. Do you think he finishes on that mark? Do you think he gets a little bit more? Do you think it gets a little bit hotter as the season goes on? If you want to talk about Champions Hockey League production, I mean, Marco Kasper had 7 points in the 6-game sample he had over there. So if you add those games to the SHL stint, Marco Kasper is at, 19 games played and 16 points? That's a much better point per game number, I would think. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about where these guys are going to go in the next few months worth of Regle play. How well do you think they're going to project towards the NHL level? And when do you think they finally make their way into the show? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj Rolls 99. And bye.